Welcome to Building the Future. I'm your host, Kevin Horick. The radio and TV version of the show air in over 12 states. This includes both coasts and Silicon Valley. The show also airs in the UK, Caribbean, and Australia. For full show times, plus past episodes of the TV and radio show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com. We just launched a free online community to connect past guests, listeners, and others. This community will allow you to network, chat on Slack, or get help with anything else, and a lot more. If you're interested in joining the community, buying some merch, sponsoring the show, or signing up for the newsletter, please go to buildingthefutureshow.com. The show is a proud media partner for the 11th Annual Media Excellence Awards, which are produced by Access Entertainment in Los Angeles, California. The Media Excellence Awards are recognized as the most influential awards show honoring innovation and leadership in all things mobile entertainment, lifestyle, and technology. For more information on how to submit to these awards, please visit MediaXAwards.com. Welcome back to the show. Today we have Madhu Konety. He's the founder and CEO at Ice Cream Labs. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have you on the show. I'm extremely fascinated, selfishly, by the space that you guys are building technology in. But maybe before we get into all that fun stuff, let's get to know you a little bit better and start off with where you grew up.
Sure. So, firstly, thank you for having me. Your show is exciting. I grew up in Bangalore in India.
Okay.
I grew up in a family where we were 4 kids.
Okay.
And I'm the youngest. Wow. Yeah. So the two interesting things of my childhood was, dinner table conversation was always about surgery and medicine because my family is filled with doctors.
Interesting.
And so early in my life, I developed a phobia towards anything to do with medicine and surgery. And so I was always looking for, how do I get out of this?
Interesting. Why is that? Just because you just like one of those things that, was it like a physical reaction or you were just like, I don't want to go into the family kind of business?
Yeah, it was, one was, the topic was always front and center
okay.
for me.
Sure.
And most, a fun evening for us was going to my dad's clinic and then hanging out and seeing all the sick people.
I got you.
Waiting for him, right?
Got you.
So, while my brother and sisters didn't mind that and they decided to follow my dad, I definitely didn't want to do that.
Sure. Okay, so you've been to a ton of kind of university. Walk me through your kind of university journey and what did you end up taking and why?
Sure. So my first thing was I did my computer science in Bangalore.
Okay.
And I think one, I wanted to run away from medicine, and two, at a very young age, somebody lent me a Commodore 64.
Okay, sure.
So I had that for 2 months, and I was really fascinated. Apart from playing games, I started, doing some basic programming, and I put them on these cassette tapes, and I tried to peddle them and sell them as a young guy. I must have been in my 7th or 8th grade. And
interesting.
The Commodore 64. I haven't got my hands on another one after that, but
sure.
It really that 2 months really framed a lot in my career.
Interesting. Okay. So you went to university. What made you want to kind of go into technology? Because you said the Commodore 64, but like, was there kind of was that the defining moment, or was there something else that was like, okay, I got to take this in school?
So I think, that was, one big defining moment. And
okay.
I used to, when my dad got me toys, like, video games and stuff.
Sure.
I would break them apart. I would try to understand how the whole thing worked. I was always fascinated, and I would always break them. I could not put them back together, and I had to hide them away.
That's hilarious.
And then in high school, I started getting into electronics and building stuff and buying resistors and capacitors and making things.
Really?
So, technology was really fascinating for me, right? It was just a magic. You could put all these things together and it would go do something that was amazing.
Sure.
When I had to pick going to college. I just wanted to go deeper into tech,
Okay.
and so once I graduated from my undergrad, uh, I really wanted to go deeper. So I said, okay, the best place I'm going to go is go to the U.S. and go do my master's in computer science, because I wanted to go deeper. I wanted to understand technology more and see how we could leverage technology to build new products, right?
Okay. Interesting.
So I landed up in Virginia Tech,
Okay.
working on my master's. And Virginia Tech was very interesting, very different from the education I had in India.
Okay.
Everything was application oriented. It was very fascinating for me because in India I learned about theory, about the fundamentals of computer science, and in Virginia Tech you actually had to apply not what you have to really apply what you learned,
Okay. Interesting.
and actually build practical stuff. So it's completely different dimension. And the other thing was all the kids in my class were smart as hell. Uh, so,
That's great
so
though, right?
yeah, yeah. So it also it recalibrated me that, in India maybe I was in the top of my class. And when I come in here, I assumed I would just coast through the
Interesting.
program. And it was hell. It was really hell.
Interesting.
It was late nights and lots of hard work. And people, the other thing was, I think I learned a lot from my classmates and the people I took courses with. They had different industry backgrounds, and they brought different perspectives. That was also new to me.
Interesting.
It was very fascinating.
Okay.
And
Keep going. Sorry.
yeah, and, yeah. So then once I finished Virginia Tech, I said, okay, hey, I like to be in something that's more technical in research. So I ended up joining a small company working on a DARPA research program.
Okay.
And was a good transition for a guy who loves technology and working on really cool research that we were. This is the precursor to virtualization and cloud computing. There was no cloud computing, so I
Sure.
worked on that for a couple of years, and then I said, hey, this technology is very very interesting, and I'm a smart engineer, so let me go start a company.
Okay.
So I packed my bags. I was in Virginia. Packed my bags. My wife and I, we just moved to California.
Interesting.
And yeah, so the first day we were living in Stanford. So the first day I decided I'm going to go buy groceries. I go down to Molly Stone, and I see Steve Jobs up
Seriously.
there. Yes,
Wow.
it was just, yeah. That's like, okay. I said I've arrived. I've come to the
That's
perfect place.
amazing.
Yeah, God is here, right? So that is a very, very defining moment. It was very interesting, and I guess that explains my love for the Bay Area.
Sure. No, that's
So
great, man. Keep going though. I'm fascinated
yeah,
by this. That's great.
so I started this company that we were. This is the early days. There was no virtualization or cloud, so we built a platform to kind of dynamically manage resources in a data center. So um, we called the company Musambi, and I had about maybe 50K in savings. I said, okay, I'm going to take this 50K and build this product. And I
Okay.
looked around, and 50K doesn't go a long way in the Bay Area.
Sure.
So I decided that I'm going to go overseas. So I went back and I hired a team in India to build this.
Okay.
Um, and I mean, I had we built a good product, but I'd never done anything to do with marketing. I had no clue how to do sales. So I got a couple of folks to help me hire a salesperson and get some angel money, and we started getting a few customers. Then we ran out of money, and
Interesting.
luckily for me, one of my investors said, "Hey, don't worry, I've got a guy we've got a team that will buy you out," and they're with a company called NetIQ.
Okay.
So they came in and they said they evaluated the technology and said, okay, we're going to take this. And they took this, and I decided I'm going to move on. I'd spent 3 years on it and wanted to kind of take a break. So we took the money, and they took the company, and they basically ended up selling to BMC Software after a few years.
Interesting. Okay, so
And so,
keep
yeah,
going.
sorry, go
Sorry.
ahead.
No, keep going.
Yeah. So the big thing I learned in the 3 years I did this was, hey, there is another part to. I mean, if you just build it, people just don't come and buy it. There's another part to actually
Sure.
creating a business more than a product.
Sure. Yeah.
And I also learned. I mean, and I learned the Valley is a very interesting ecosystem with a lot of really good people. I thought I'd do another startup, but then uh, just felt I didn't have the energy, so I ended up with BMC Software doing product management with a product called Remedy.
Okay.
And that was really my first large company, large enterprise experience, and that was it really helped me understand uh, uh, how businesses think about technology, how they perceive the value from technology, and how it can be applied to real functional needs.
Okay. Interesting.
Then I did spent another year with my boss at BMC said, hey, I'm going to go to this interesting company that's a turnaround, and why don't you come in and help me with product management? I said okay, and so I went with him to Network General, which was a networking monitoring company that was a private equity fund had bought it out, and they wanted to grow the business and exit it. So Rick and I went out there, and it was really interesting year and a half for us to turn around the business, grow it. We had to grow revenues by almost 80%.
Wow.
Did that, and the private equity investors got an exit, and we decided time to move on.
Okay.
So I then went to business school. I said needed to kind of hone my business skills a bit more.
Okay.
So I went to Stanford, and that's the third school I went to, but completely different. I mean, different paradigm.
Sure.
Again, I went in thinking I'm a smart guy, and the first 2 hours I realized how low on the totem pole I was.
Wow. Interesting. Did you go full time?
I did full time.
Okay.
And
no, keep going. Sorry.
So the cohort at the business school, I mean, it was just unbelievable, right? I mean, people from different parts of the world, different professions, all extremely smart.
Sure.
And again, the academic experience was so different, even more practical, even more driven by actual real life problems.
Okay.
A lot of learning from the people around you.
Sure.
So I think it's not just about. I think it didn't just give me business skills, but it really altered my thinking. Obviously, the entrepreneurial ecosystem around Stanford, and the whole motto about do big things, change lives, change the world at Stanford is really kind of got into my DNA.
Okay, interesting.
The scale of things became a lot more apparent. The scale of impact you can have on the world, the scale of impact change you can actually create was what I really got out of Stanford, and the incredible people around there.
Interesting. So you get out of Stanford. What do you do next?
So I get out of Stanford, and the logical thing for me was, my plan was, the logical thing to do is go do another startup.
Okay, sure.
And but I said, okay, I'm going to throw logic out, and I decided to go join a hedge fund.
Okay.
So I said, hey, I'm an analytical guy. I've gone to business school, so I should have the tools to go do some damage in a different industry. So I decided to go join a hedge fund, and the hedge fund was out of London, and they said, hey, we want to look at India as a market.
Okay.
And so they said, hey, you seem like a bright guy. Pack your bags. Come on over, spend some time in India, and start investing.
Interesting.
So, so I think it was a pretty radical shift for me, but it was very interesting because I got to see a different side of business. I got to see how investors think about companies, and how do you evaluate not just the financials, but also understand people. Understand how how they make decisions, right? So that was really eye-opening. And so I was doing that, and then I met an old family friend, and he said, "Hey, I've just got a lot of money right now, so I want to set up a fund. Can you come and join me?"
Interesting. That's not a terrible
Yeah.
thing to have happen.
Well, I think I didn't really check with my wife, so I said, "Hey, yeah, this is over Christmas." I said, "Okay, I can pack my bags and move back to India in a week."
Wow.
So yeah, so then I had to go and then convince my wife, and I said, "This is a great opportunity. We got to do this," and I had to give her the whole spiel about BRICS and why India is a good market for us to be in and stuff like that. So.
Sure.
I moved to India, and we set up this fund, and we started investing in multiple businesses and assets. And that was a journey. That was another interesting journey. So from there, I had other family offices call me up and say, "Hey, we need help. Can you come and help us put an investment office together? And can you help us with making investments?" So I said, "Sure, why not?" And I started helping families in India, in the Middle East, kind of especially look at investments in tech,
Okay.
investments in VC funds, and I spent about 3 years doing that.
Okay. Interesting.
And yeah, and that was fun. And once, and I said after 3 years, I said, I'm getting a little old. I always wanted to do a nice large startup and take it public. So I said, okay, maybe it's time to quit what I'm doing and go back into tech and into an operating role.
Interesting. Okay, so is that when you founded Ice Cream Labs?
That's when I founded Ice Cream Labs.
Okay.
So I took about a year to kind of explore different options.
Okay.
And what happened was I was looking at what are the interesting technologies, what are the spaces that have big market opportunities. I thought clean tech was one big opportunity, and I thought AI and some applications of AI was another good opportunity. As a computer science major, AI is it's like every geek's dream. So I said, okay, I'm going to go switch. I'm going to go do something in AI. And we started by getting a small team together and building out basic capabilities, right? Really experimenting and trying to understand what are the things that we can do, what does it take to actually build out algorithms, how do we train models, with a focus on just the first 6 months was just getting the lay of the land.
Okay, sure.
And while we were doing this, we saw a lot of interesting opportunities in media, in advertising, and I actually ran into my first customer accidentally. So I met somebody from senior up from a large retailer, and he said, "Hey, you know what? All the stuff you're doing is really interesting for us in retail. So come on over and let's talk about it." And so I came down to San Francisco, and I met with their senior team, and they said, "Hey, you know what? I have a lot of problems. Why don't you take this first one and solve it, and then you can build a product out of it?" I said, "That's perfect. I mean, great to have a big customer, but it's also great that they're willing to help us build out a product."
Sure. So did they
and that's how we got started.
Interesting. No, that's quite fascinating. So did they give you some money to build the first product, or did you self-fund it?
So we initially self-funded it.
Okay.
And then we went back to them with a solution and said, "Hey, we're ready for a pilot," and they signed up.
Interesting. Okay, so before we kind of dive a bit deeper into this whole thing, Ice Cream Labs, how did you come up with the name?
Yeah.
I'm curious.
That's an interesting backstory, Kevin. So I was struggling to come up with a cool name.
Okay, sure.
And my philosophy was, I don't have any marketing dollars, so I got to find a name that is a conversation starter. So I was struggling for days, and then my son, who was about 9 years old at that time, said, "Hey, what are you struggling with? I'll give you a hand." I said, "Okay, this is what it is." And he thinks be cool, so he said, "Okay, I'll give you the name, but you've got to give me 50% of the profit." So I said, okay, because he doesn't know what profit is, right? So
Sure.
I said, okay, yeah, sure, man. Yeah. So he actually used my credit card, blocked the domain name. He didn't tell me what it was. And then when I agreed to it, he gave me the domain name and the name.
That's interesting. I guess I just
Yeah.
like the space you were playing in. I thought it was just to play off that, but that's actually quite fascinating how that came to be.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
So I
Okay,
bought it from a guy who doesn't really know what profit is. So
got
that's
you.
the backstory. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you build this first product, you go to them, you say we have this solution. Walk me through kind of the rest of the journey and how it kind of unfolded to what Ice Cream Labs is now.
Sure. So this is so it's taken us about a year and a half. I think we underestimated the complexity of the technology and also the complexity of scaling the technology. So we got the pilot and we said, oh, the pilot itself is quite challenging.
Sure.
And so since the pilot, I think we started with we've scaled the platform to handle about maybe about 50x the number of products since in the last year and a half.
Okay.
And it's been like drinking from a fire hose. The enormity of the problem and the enormity of the opportunity really has kind of just seeped into us over the last year and a half.
Sure.
Yeah. So really fundamentally what we do is we help retailers who are transforming into really digital businesses, give them the ability to look at product data, merchandising, and category management in a completely new way.
Okay.
So we enable them to optimize, identify and optimize problems with their product catalogs, give them insights and control on managing these catalogs,
Okay.
help them do better merchandising. And if you think about it, what we do is we really look at the catalog and help retailers power their searches so consumers can find their products faster.
Okay.
Power the product listing pages so they can reduce and give enough information to consumers so that the returns are lower, and address issues like SEO, SEM. How do you optimize channels for that? And so this is a lot. I mean, a lot of this is about how do you scale these solutions. Typically, most people would employ like an army of people offshore.
Sure.
In the thousands, and managing these offshore armies are tough. It's not scalable and it's expensive.
Yeah.
What we're able to do is, I mean, we can process 1 million products a day today.
Wow.
Yeah, and at that scale, it's really tough to employ a human workforce to do this.
Sure.
Right, and the good thing about, I mean, the way we think about AI, Kevin, is AI is not about replacing humans, but it's really about increasing the productivity of humans.
Sure.
So we enable rather than managing an army of 1,000 people offshore. Same category managers, merchandising managers can use our technology and self-manage it.
Okay. So
them. So it increases their productivity.
Okay, so how do they use your technology to kind of do that?
Sure. So from a large retailer's perspective, what we enable category managers to do is, as they're getting a floodgate of data coming in from multiple sellers and multiple suppliers,
Okay.
we help them actually identify the quality of the data. We give them a quality score of the data.
Oh, interesting.
And so when we think about quality, we are really talking about the quality of the content.
Okay.
So if I get data about a shirt and it says it's a red shirt, we validate that it's actually a red shirt by looking at the image and looking at the text.
Right.
And if we look at the titles and we say, is the title optimized so that the consumer can actually get maximum value out of it and actually click and buy that product? is it most appropriate for a consumer to understand what the product is and buy it. We make sure that the description around the product is complete, and it's informative enough. At the same time, it's something that the consumer can read and understand about the product. A lot of the stuff is also around understanding images and extracting information from images. It could be attributes of the product. It could be what type of product it is. It could be around what are the things like if it's a nutrition label, we actually extract the nutrition information for a food product and make that all available so that people can search for these products easily. They can actually browse through these products and they can make better buying decisions.
Interesting. So when you say search through these products, like how do they, is that just their online shopping experience or that's in store as well?
So right now we're focused on the online, but
okay.
More and more the retailers that we're working with, they're using the same data to power offline store searches too.
Sure, yeah. Because I think like, not saying what your technology is doing like online isn't like extremely cool. It's just, I think some of the biggest next tech revolution is actually bringing some of this online technology into the physical store as I'm in a store, because I don't always order everything online, at least not yet anyway, right?
Exactly.
Interesting.
And if you think about, the benefit of offline experience is really the browsability of products, right? You have a much larger visual scope. You can see a lot more products. You can discover products a lot easier. And while you're discovering, if you want to find more information or you want to get similar products, you can actually take the online content and enable the consumer at that point.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. So you say, at least on your website, you fill any kind of product gaps. So how does that kind of work? Like basically if I only stock 3 products of something, but you guys could recommend another couple products that I could stock that would potentially, sell more in that category. Is that kind of how that works?
Yeah. So what we do is we enable category managers to kind of get a better sense of the category marketplace.
Okay.
Help them identify how they can compete better, identify gaps in the product offering, and recommend how they can fill those gaps. And typically, right, it's not about, hey, I don't have, let's say I'm a category manager for sports shoes.
Okay.
It's typically they do carry most of the popular brands, but what are the variants of the brands that are they missing, or maybe are they, right? Yeah. So, am I missing a red color men's running shoe while all my competitors are carrying it? So these are really enabling these category managers to identify. See, they're all driven by their P&L and growth in revenue, and how can we enable them to increase their GMV or their revenue? That's the whole goal.
I got you.
We do that by really identifying the gaps and identifying new opportunities for them.
Okay, so who's your ideal kind of customer then? Or is it a specific vertical, or does it not really matter?
So right now we are focused on 3 verticals within retail.
Okay.
The home and furnishing space, the food and grocery space, and fashion.
Okay.
And apparel.
Interesting. So is there any specific reason that you pick kind of those 3 verticals? They're huge verticals. There's obviously more than enough clients in those verticals to build a whole business around.
Sure. We felt that these 3 verticals, I think, have the most pain points and also seeing the most growth. And the growth is what we can help our customers manage. Okay. We can help them scale pretty dramatically in all these 3 segments.
Okay, interesting. So, go ahead. Sorry,
go ahead. Yeah, I was going to say. So the thing is, I think the big new dimension to all of this, Kevin, is if you think about traditional retail and I'll say digital retail, because it's not just e-commerce. It's e-commerce. It's the mobile app. it's the store pickup, all of this. The big transformation we're seeing is retailers and brands are scaling their product offering dramatically.
Okay.
The space constraints are gone. The shelf constraints are gone. So everybody is talking about endless aisles.
Okay. Interesting.
From thousands of products or tens of thousands of products, they're all talking about millions of products now.
Right.
Right? So that's the big shift, and that's one of the big areas that we help our customers manage.
Interesting. No, that makes a lot of sense. So I want to talk about kind of the AI, machine learning, kind of computer vision side of the business, because I think
Sure.
that's probably the most fascinating parts of it to me, anyway.
Yes. Yeah. So the big thing I think is, I mean, from a technology perspective, we rely a lot on deep learning, and deep learning is a type of machine learning. The big difference is I think you apply a lot more data
Okay.
to train the models, and the models tend to perform a lot better because it's seeing a lot more data, so it's able to make predictions at a much more granular level. So on the AI side, so we all our models. I mean, we have prediction models, we have generative models. The prediction models typically is like you take a repetitive cognitive task and you train a machine to do that repetitive cognitive task.
Okay.
It's like, if you think about it, the simplest analogy is when a child is I teach a child what a chair is. I show the child 10 chairs,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I show the child 11 chairs, she will automatically call it a chair.
Right.
That's it's a nice cognitive a function that we can train the child to do. And deep learning and machine learning is the same. And when you want to make the machine predict stuff, you give it a few hundred images of a chair, and the next time it learns what are the characteristics of a chair, and then it's easily able to predict that it's a chair.
Interesting. Okay.
And the new set of models, I mean, there's a lot of very exciting stuff happening. The thing is, I think especially machine learning, the technology is evolving so rapidly. I've seen it in the last year and a half. I think there's been a leapfrog in technology, and literally every month there is something new happening. But I still think we're still scratching the surface. There's a lot more to go. There's a lot more to do.
Interesting. So what are you? No, keep going. Sorry. No, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about. So the other part of our models, we do a lot of generative networks. So generative networks are basically training models to learn from something and predict a new thing. So we train models to learn certain writing styles, and then you can start writing new kinds of text.
Oh, wow. That's actually really fascinating.
Yeah, that is fascinating. And it's still, I think, early. I don't think we can get a machine to write a book, but we can get the machine to have some coherent product descriptions and stuff like that. That's relatively easy. They're creating product titles and product descriptions, and that are varied across different products. We can even train the networks to learn different writing styles. Like I can say, give me this in Shakespearean style, or I can say, give me this in, I don't know, millennial style. And it can differentiate and create new content based on that.
Interesting. So this is probably kind of a bit of a wild question then. Are you doing that just in English, or are you going to do that in other languages at some point? Because I think that in itself is really, really powerful, right? Like if a computer can generate text or descriptions or titles in any language, that's huge.
It's true. That is part of our roadmap.
Interesting.
That's where we want to go. And yeah. And language translation and also writing styles, right? I mean, localizing it to the writing style of that region. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's actually really fascinating. So, walk me through some of the other kind of AI stuff that you guys are doing. Like, are you actually putting, I don't know, like a chair or a couch in my digital living room? Is that kind of the stuff you're doing, or what are you guys doing in there?
Yes, that's a good thing. So part of what some of the new products that we're doing is how do we create new consumer shopping experiences, right?
Sure.
And and this is something that this is near and dear to me because I've just started remodeling my home,
Okay.
and I thought this should be such an easy process. It's been 3 months,
Sure.
and I've given up. I've literally given up. I've just told my wife, please go handle this because I realized, I mean, there's a gap between the analytical and the creative process. So we said,
Yep.
okay, can we create experiences for people to not get frustrated, but really get engaged in doing this? And we've identified these gaps, and we said, okay, so what we're doing is we're saying, how can we solve the home redecoration problem better? And for me, I said, I'm not going to go to a store and say, I like this couch, I like this lamp, and I like these rugs, and I'm not going to put those together and buy them. I'll rely on somebody else to create these designs or these collections for me,
Sure.
and then maybe I go to a Macy's furniture store, I go to an IKEA, and the buying experience there is I'm looking at the holistic living room and the holistic picture. And then I'll try to superimpose that into my living room and say, hey, I like it, and I'll buy it.
Yep.
So we're trying to recreate that experience in a digital world.
Interesting.
And so technology has also evolved rapidly for us to actually start doing some of these things, especially with AR being available on all the phones now. We're able to understand consumers and then give them these experiences of virtually putting a collection in their room that meets their preferences, right? And so
Right.
understanding them and giving them what they like. And if they don't like the couch, they can literally swipe left or right and get a new digital couch, so until they get the perfect look that they like.
Sure.
That's personalized for them.
No, that's actually quite fascinating because I think part of the problem with buying anything for your home is you see it in a store and it looks bigger or smaller or maybe the right size, kind of fluke luck. But actually, when you get it home and you're like, oh, it's not quite right, right? And I know some people just deal with that, but some people that really drives them crazy. But if I can see kind of like, okay, here's my couch and then here's my lamp and here's the new coffee table, and it all kind of, is proportionally accurate online, and I just hit order, that to me, and I think a lot more people are like that, right? Because it's a struggle, or especially if you get something custom made, like you can't take it back.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other thing is, for design challenged people like me, I mean, accessing an interior designer is not easy. So what we're trying to do is, how can we have a limited resource like interior designers
Sure.
provide their creative, creative expertise to a larger number of people, and we can still connect consumers to an interior designer who can put these creative pieces together, and the AI will help them actually reach out to a larger number of people.
Interesting. You could crowdsource it almost, or you could interior design source it, right? Like buy a handful of them. Like I upload a photo of my living room. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's crazy cool, actually.
So we want to do the same thing on the fashion side. So,
Sure.
I mean, I'm terrible at picking clothes.
Me too.
I have blues and browns.
Mine's just black.
Okay. You're a little more creative than I am. So I want somebody to help me with my clothes, and I don't have access to a personal stylist that easily. So,
Sure.
but can I crowdsource it, and can I use AI to actually not only understand Madhu's taste but also create these looks for Madhu?
Sure.
And that's a similar thing I want to do in the fashion space.
Interesting. I suppose, hey, like and then you could also automatically start recommending stuff to me. You could also say, like,
Exactly.
okay, I don't know. Hypothetically, I could say I have this event in a month or a week or 2 months, and I need something, either casual or formal or whatever. And you could
Yeah.
recommend things based on kind of my body type and my style and kind of what you think I would like. And then just either share it with me through email or some other way, or you could just automatically just send it to me, and I could even set a budget. Say I give you $1,000 a quarter or something to send me new clothes. Hypothetically, right? Like,
Yes, exactly.
interesting. Wow, that's fascinating to me.
So I think, part of the advantage of, having worked with large retailers, we've been able to literally train our models on a large variety of products. So we've got so much depth. A big part of AI is really having access to a lot of data, and that's one
Sure.
of the things that we've been lucky with. So our models have seen lots of data, and so understand. Technically, our models understand a lot about products that are being sold in the world. They know a
Sure.
lot of things about what colors they come in, what sizes they come in, what are the variants. So we can then take these models and then start applying it to kind of new applications.
Interesting. And then based on once you know a profile about, say, me, hypothetically, you could start recommending other things based on similar people that have bought. And then on top of that, you could basically, this is maybe a bad example, but I live up in Canada. And so sometimes, like, obviously we're not like a big fashion, well, the city I live in isn't a big fashion hub of Canada. And
Okay.
or the world, I like buy whatever, right? But
Yeah.
and sometimes, like, when I go to LA, I'll buy a bunch of clothes down in LA, and then it's funny because 6 or 9 months later you start seeing the same clothes here. So, like, you could
Okay.
basically say, okay, well, Kevin likes these brands or these styles, and he buys from these stores online or whatever, it doesn't matter. And then you could ship me clothes from potentially anywhere on the globe because I like those styles, right? Because I think some people are fine wearing, the same t-shirt that, that their favorite store sells in town, and 1,000 other people have it. Or there's some people that are even willing to pay a bit of a premium to get clothes from other parts of the world without actually going to those parts of the world, right? Because obviously it's cheaper to spend a couple extra dollars on a t-shirt than it is to, fly to London to buy the latest kind of t-shirt collection. I don't know.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah. That's a good thing. I think. You're also seeing that. So there's. E-commerce is really enabling access across markets, right? It's accessibility. I may be getting a product from New York today, but I may be able to get a product from London or Shanghai next year as easily.
Yeah, interesting. Or I'm willing
Yeah.
to wait, right? Like if it's like a
Yeah.
4 week or 6 week shipment, who cares?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be
Yeah.
summer in 4 or 6 weeks, and I don't need that T-shirt when it's springtime. I don't know. Maybe that's a overgeneralization, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah. And it's happening. I think it's happening in terms of. The world is getting flatter because of access to products across all
Sure.
these markets.
Sure. Yeah, it is interesting how you can get things printed, for example, like business cards. I don't know, maybe this is a bad example, but like
Yeah.
business cards that literally will come from China like overnight, but I can't
Yeah.
even ship something from America into Canada overnight without paying like a crazy amount of overnight kind of just border import fees, right? So
Yeah.
geographically it doesn't make any sense. Obviously it's like a issue with kind of just how we have kind of barter trade, but it just kind of fascinates me how lots of times I can get something faster from China to Canada than I can from America.
Yeah.
but
Yeah. That's true.
right, but I also think that like
Yeah.
it's kind of fascinating because I think e-commerce, like you guys are working in, is getting rid of those geographical borders, right? Like, do I really care
Yeah.
if that shirt comes directly from China, America, or some other country? Like, who cares?
Exactly. I think the logistics is making it more efficient. It's also, I think, companies have become smarter. They have enough adequate data. I mean, the regulatory issues, so they have enough data to actually go through these hurdles and handle these issues faster. So handle
Sure.
customs in Canada, or handle customs in China, or handle customs in India. Regulatory requirements for these customs, those are things that are getting easier and easier, and people are able to get products across faster.
Yeah, that's actually really fascinating. So I'm curious then, where do you guys kind of go from here with this stuff? Do you work on more of the software side? Do you work on kind of more of the hardware software side, or do you bring it kind of more into the store? Because I could see a lot of, relevant stuff that, as I'm in a department store, for example, if I allow it, you could potentially guide me through my whole shopping experience in a store based on, the data about me. Like, if I'm willing to say I'm in Macy's, for example, and I say, like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, allow me a digital personal shopper, you guys could basically say, okay, walk over here and pick out this outfit, or pick out this shirt, and then go over here and get these pants, and these will like match your style and what you're looking for based on some data that I provided you. Like, could you guys do something like that?
So those are the things that we're driving towards. So
Okay.
how do we create these? I mean, digital assistants that are AI powered,
Sure.
that can solve specific problems, right? I mean, not a Siri, but something something more. More maybe solving a fashion problem, or a home design problem, or a food cooking. What do I want to cook for the evening, and what are my dietary needs? And then can I have a digital assistant help you put that together?
Sure. Interesting. Yeah,
So
because, okay, keep going. Sorry.
yeah, so those are the things. I think, I mean, so we chose these three segments because we think there's a lot of potential to leverage AI, kind of leverage the crowd to do more, really enhance the experiences for customers, right? And all of these are really driven by our own needs.
Sure.
My lack of fashion trends, or my design challenge at home, or if I want to eat a low carb diet, I've got to go look at every label and figure out what's in there, and then
Yeah.
actually craft a recipe, and then got to figure out. So how do we kind of connect the dots and kind of create experiences so our life becomes easier?
Sure. But you could also basically say, based on my fashion sense, you could probably recommend furniture. And based on my furniture sense, you could probably recommend fashion. And you could probably take a pretty good educated guess based on my dietary restrictions, or how I like to eat, maybe based on some of that stuff. Is that fair to
Yeah.
say?
That's fair to say. I think we're not there yet,
Sure.
but that's something maybe we can get towards, in the future.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's quite fascinating. So I'm curious then, at this point in your kind of journey, how does somebody kind of actually work with Ice Cream Labs and get your technology into their software or their company?
Pretty easy. They can just reach out to us and at connect@icecreamlabs.com. They can visit our website, and we've been doing a couple of shows, and there's just enormous interest from most of the retailers and sellers and brands, and we're really excited about all the problems we can solve. So this is exciting times. I think that the retail transformation is amazing, and we're happy to be playing a small part in it.
Sure. And so how long would it take if I had a t-shirt company or a furniture company online? How long does it kind of traditionally take to integrate your software into my, kind of online presence?
We typically, depending on the size of the
Sure.
customer, takes anywhere between, it could take a few hours to a few days.
Oh, so very quick.
Yeah, very quick. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So, I mean, our customers can start seeing results in a couple of hours once we tie in the data.
So is there kind of like a ideal customer size for you? Like, do they need to be selling, I don't know, like $1 million worth of product, $250,000, $1,000 worth of product? Like, obviously the more data, the better, but is there kind of an ideal range that somebody kind of should get to before they kind of reach out to you guys to integrate your software, or it doesn't really matter?
So right now, what we're focused on is it's just, I think, looking at the maturity curve from a digital perspective. So we're focused on mid to large retailers and brands, and we hope to later in the year launch a completely self-serve model. So smaller retailers and brands can actually plug in and use it themselves very easily. Got you.
Yeah, I guess like that's part of the problem when you're first starting out is you don't have the data to really provide, like some of the insights, right? So that's potentially like a huge challenge from any company's side, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Fascinating. So I'm curious. We're kind of coming to the end of the show. So is there anything else that you want to mention about Ice Cream Labs that we didn't cover yet?
So I think one of the big things is this is when I'm looking at innovating. I mean, innovating using technology is a big piece. The other piece is really we're building products across the globe. We have a very distributed team, and this is very unusual for startups. Startups tend to want everybody in the same room, working together, and so that is. It's part of it's a big learning for me. One of the things we decided to do is talent is extremely difficult in our space. Sure. So we said rather than try to get all the talent into one room, we'll just go to where the talent is.
Makes sense.
And so we have people in Spain. We have a person in Singapore. We have a team in Bangalore. We have a team in San Francisco. We have somebody in Tahoe. So and it takes a little bit of infrastructure to get all of this working.
Sure.
Some sleepless nights for me, but I'm glad because I think people are happy where they are. Sure. Me transplanting and trying to aggregate people into one place actually wouldn't have worked. I'm happier to have a happy workforce and people who are excited to be where they are and being productive. So that's one. I think that's been a big thing for us is let's just go to where the talent is.
Sure.
And I see that's just working well for us.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And well, retail, especially kind of online, works a little bit different in different parts of the world. So getting different perspectives makes a lot of sense anyway, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting.
And everybody is a customer. All of us are customers, are consumers, right? So we all have retail experience. But yeah.
Of course. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So we're at the end of the show, so let's mention where people can get more information about you guys again, and any other kind of links you want to mention.
Yeah, so they can look us up on the web. We're at icecreamlabs.com. You can send us an email at connect@icecreamlabs.com. You can look us up on LinkedIn. We're at linkedin.com/icecreamlabs. We're on Twitter also at Ice Labs, and I'm actually not sure where we are on Facebook, but I'm sure we are on Facebook.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And people can just search for it on Facebook and they find you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be on the show, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Kevin. Wonderful talking to you.
Thanks, man. You as well. Okay.
Sure.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for listening. To join the free community, buy some merch, sponsor the show, or sign up for the newsletter, please visit the website at buildingthefutureshow.com. The music for the show is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com and keep building the future.